Okay, Tennessee Whiskey, Keke Wyatt, let's do this.
Oh, babe.
She's got a really, really rich voice just right off the bat.
Oh.
Okay, delay.
Used to spend my nights out in ballroom.
So this is really cool. So this is a great lesson in how to mix vocals. One of the ways that you want it to match the reverb, but you don't want to dunk a bunch of reverb on the lead vocals because it puts it way in the back of the track. When you're mixing, there's the stereo image, there's left and right and everything in between, but there's also front and back. And you can send things to the back using chorus effects and reverb. So actually there's just a touch of verb and a touch of chorus, but that delay allows for the kind of the effect that we like from reverb without actually putting the vocals more back in the mix.
Used to spend my nights out in ballroom. Liquor was the only love I ever known.
Nice.
But you rescued me from reaching for the bottom and brought me back from being too far gone.
Man, every great singer that we cover, every phrase is so specific.
Me back.
The way that she does that little jaw wiggle, it's not jaw tension at all. It's just a little bit of thing that you can do to add some wavering and quivering.
Me back.
Right? It's a cool effect.
From being too far gone.
And that, come on, that's so good. This is something that I was actually teaching a student.
From being too far gone.
When you get into your low, it's very, very, very tempting to slam down in your larynx with the tongue to get a darker sound. And if you don't put too much air behind that, you won't instantly go flat. And it could be a way to give a little bit more sound to the low end. But it's usually preferable to go with this kind of smoky sound. When you hit a low note, and the note ideally is meant for a bigger instrument where the folds are literally bigger, right? There comes this point where they're kind of just so fat where they don't really touch anymore, and so they just leak a lot of air. So there's so much air leakage. Actually, let's take a look at that.
From being too far gone.
See what I'm saying? Oh, it's a wonderful sound. And then she goes into the nasal, continue with the and it makes it kind of it makes it sumptuous because you get that nice resonance while also kind of just there's this hum. And that also, sorry, I know I keep stopping, but when you hum, you don't hear air leaking anymore, right? When you go right? So it's a way to get that smokiness and kind of tie it off all wrapped in one. It's really smart.
You're as smooth as Tennessee whiskey. You're as sweet as strawberry wine. You're as warm as a glass of brandy.
The nasality and the bright vowels, listen to this.
You're as warm.
First of all, that's ludicrous. That's a great run. She's adjusting all of her vowels to be specific for the pitch that she's on, that's not an easy thing to do. It takes a lot of people a long time. Every pitch that we sing has a way that you can adjust the vocal tract, the mouth and throat, in such a way as to maximize the sound. Right, that's resonance. So if I go, right, there's a resonant frequency in that bottle, right? And if I sang that frequency, which I can't, it's too low for me, but if I sang that, it would make this resonate. So what's cool with singers is that you can do that for every pitch that you sing. You can adjust the vocal tract to have that effect. So take a listen to this run. So it's a whole mess of things, right? She's trying to make certain notes pop more, which is so important when you do a run. If you just do it a scale, it's not that interesting. It's just like a vocal exercise. It's kind of boring. So there's a lot of tricks that people use. There's that jaw wiggle thing that Ariana Grande does, which helps punctuate notes. But then there's also just using vowels, and this is like something Rochelle Farrell is like, that's her superpower. You're as warm as a glass of brandy. So the vowels have that effect. And now for something completely different. This is what's really cool, and I was teaching a student to work with this. And honey, I stay stoned on your love all the time. This video editing is not my favorite, but her voice is immaculate. On your love all the time. To go from the nasality very light, then kind of like bring back the nasality, go into this kind of luscious thing, and then go back to that breathy low that we were talking about before. Great singers do this. Great singers are extremely, extremely specific, and there's not a goal to sound like a certain way, or at least not the same way all the time. The best advice I ever got was don't sing the same way twice. When you open your mouth, if you have a plan, then you're not in it, right? You're using your conscious thoughts, and that puts you out of it. You got to be in it. I hope that makes sense. I look for love in all the same old places. Found the bottom of the bottle's always dry. But when you poured out your heart, I didn't waste it. No, 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 no. So that sound, that little fry, out your heart, I didn't waste it. No. That comes from the folds being incredibly loose. That's just like, her breath is so good, and her onset, like when the folds are coming together, it's so gentle and it's so soft that she gets that little fry in there. Whether that's intentional or not, I like the sound of it there. I didn't waste it. No, 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 no. And it's kind of an elaboration on those breathy low notes. 'Cause there's nothing like your love that gets me high. You're as smooth as Tennessee whiskey, baby. So there's an aesthetic in country, although it's way more prominent in folk, because a lot of folk music is performed without amplification. There's something called the areoepiglottic sphincter, and there's a little bit of this going on. So if we just want to go back to science land. So areoepiglottic sphincter, it's actually what opera singers used to sing over the orchestra. It's better known as twang. So if I do this, right, like that, you see the bunching of that. Like there's the low, which is all bright, but right around 3 kilohertz, you can see that there's a ton of brightness and volume in that specific area, and that's twang. I don't know if I could use it without opera because I'm not very good at isolating the epiglottic sphincter, but that is how you project over an orchestra, and that is a very big part of the aesthetic of country and folk. So anyway, let's move on here. We're just gonna go spoosh back.
You're as sweet as strawberry wine. You're as warm as a glass of brandy, babe. And honey, I stay stoned on your love all the time.
I have a spiel when it comes to country music. There are a lot of people who just write it off as a genre. I don't like country music tropes. For example, I can't relate to a woman finding my tractor sexy. Or like Southern pride. These are things I can't relate to. But the history of country is it's basically a natural extension of blues. And so when you think of it that way, and you go really far back to the roots of country, and you get rid of the sort of the nasty taste that some people have of the modern tropes of country, you can find some really, really, really good music. This solo reminds me a little bit of B.B. King. Rest in peace.
You're as smooth as Tennessee whiskey, baby. Tennessee whiskey. Tennessee whiskey, baby.
Okay.
That's Tennessee whiskey.
I was going to pause it on there's some really cool things going on. So we've seen a lot of bright vowels and nasality and twang. But then, you know, she has a whole spectrum of techniques and tricks. I believe Terrell put it best. She got tricks. So when we hear this particular moment, listen to how round the sound is.
Baby, Tennessee whiskey. Tennessee whiskey.
There's a very sharp contrast from the bright stuff we've been hearing. And again, this is just, you got it when you're practicing and you're training. You got to get rid of this idea that there's a bad sound. There's sound. There's cause and effect. And there's a place for a lot of things that I think people would ordinarily write off or assume are bad. And this is a perfect example. So this is a drooped soft palate, and I talk a lot about this. This is very, very, very popular in R&B and neo soul. Beyonce does this kind of everywhere. It's when you're in your middle to low range, you droop the soft palate, and it makes it sound like you're being intimate.
Tennessee whiskey, baby.
That's the sound.
You're as smooth Tennessee whiskey, yeah. Tennessee whiskey, Tennessee whiskey.
There we go. Total side note. I don't like to talk about the appearance of singers, good or bad, but I do want to do a shout out to this this lipstick thing that she's got going on, and I'm a big fan of this sort of hair. My wife kind of has that going on. Anyway, just she's killing it more ways than one.